Daf Hey Amud Beis will begin Daf Hey Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom. We learned in the Mishnah that at Bnei Yair they sent their shkolim and they sent it with messengers, and if it was lost or stolen. So it depends, their obligation depends at what point it was. So if we say if it was lost or stolen, if it was already nitrama hatruma, then if it was already, they were tayrim the truma, meaning that the shkolim that were already collected and the gizbar already took from the shkolim that were taken. He took a box of the shkolim to be used now for the korbanot tzibur. It was already nitrama truma. Then we say that their tayrim, they take this truma for the shkolim that are present and even the ones that are on their way. So if it's already nitrama truma, then the townspeople have already fulfilled their obligation. Then nishboim legizbarim. Then the shluchim, the messengers, make the shvua to the gizbarim that they were not pesheya, or they did not do anything which was not in fulfillment of their obligation. But v'imlav, if they did not yet were time the truma salishka, then the obligation is still on the townspeople. Nishboim lebnei hayir. So then the shaimrim, the shluchim, they make the shua to the people from the city. And the Bnei Yair Shekalim Tachteim, and the Bnei Yair have to give replacement shkolim. Nimso Sheikh Zira Maganovim, and if the money was found or the thieves returned it, then Eilvel Shkolim Vein Oilam Lam Lishana. Both have a din of shkolim, but the second ones, the Gemara will define what second ones are. They are shkolim, but they're not credited for next year's. They're used for other communal needs. So we had a machlokes in how to understand the Mishnah. And we have a klal that we're not nishboin like deshus. So why should it be over here that we say that they make a shua, that we say that the shayrim make a shua, the shluchim make a shua to the townspeople? Well, they're nishboin like deshus. So one shot that we learned was that the Mishnah is going according to Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Elazar said that the Mishnah is going to Rabbi Shimon that says Davar Agarim Kimam and Dami, and therefore, since the townspeople would be responsible to replace it if it got lost or stolen, they're considered to have a vested interest, a financial interest into it. They're considered to be bailim, and therefore it's not nishboim lahagdeshus completely. It's nishboim also to the Baalim. They're considered Baalim, and we're making a shua to them. Rav Yochanan said it can be going even not according to Rav Shimon, it can be going according to the Chachamim. And this is a special shua, it's a takana. It's a takana that the Rabban were machmir, that you should not treat hektish lightly, they should treat it with the proper severity. They were masakin the shua. So Zok to Gemara, 2 lines from the bottom. According to Rav Yochanan, we understand what the pshat is the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that they make a shua to the gizbarim. If the truma is already nitrama, they make a shua to the gizbarim. V'im lav, and if not, if it hasn't been nitrama, the shmail b'nei Yair sheklam acherim tachteim. And the people in the city have to bring replacement ones. So we understand, according to Rav Yochanan, that this is a special takana the Rabbana. We understand why there is a shua over here. So that's mishum shua's takana. We understand it's maker din. It should not be. There should be no obligation, but there's a takana. Ella l'Rabbi Elazar. But according to Rabbi Elazar, who says the mission is going according to Rav Shimon, nishboim livnei Yair adoi Rav Shimon, where it says that you make the shua, the Mishnah says they make the shua to the people in the city, then we understand that's going according to Rav Shimon, because they have to replace it. It's their responsibility. But nishboim legizborim, gizborim ma'ivadayu. What does it mean when it says that they make a shua to the gizborim? That if it says that they already were time of the truma was already nitram before the geneva, then it says in the Mishnah they make the shvua to the gizborim. Well, what do the gizborim have to do with it? They're not responsible for it. They're not responsible to replace it. So how does that fit in to Rav Shimon? Hello, the Gemara says we have to give a different shot in the Mishnah. Is that it's going according to Rav Shimon will not explain the Mishnah, will not explain why there's a shua to the gizbar. Ella, the Gemara says, Nishbon Livnei Ayer b'mamet hagizbar. What it means is, the shua is to the people in the city. What we're talking about is the shua is to the people in the city. We're talking about the shua in order for the shluchim to get their wages. The shluchim, the messengers, want to demand their wages. Now they want to get paid. They have to make a shua that they were not peisheya. That's what it means. The shua that we're talking about is not the shua that in terms of the responsibility or the obligation for the theft or for the loss of the shkolim. It's a shua in order to be able to collect their wages. So they make the shua that they weren't negligent, and they make it b'mamad gizborim. Now, Mikra dinner does not have to be made in front of the Gizborim, but that's a takana. They make it in front of the Gizborim, so that the Gizborim will not be choshed them, suspect them of stealing it. Or even if it's not stealing, but not to treat them as being negligent. So therefore, they make the shua that they didn't steal it, they weren't negligent, and in order to collect their wages. So like the Gemara, even if the people accepted upon themselves that they're going to reimburse hektish. Now, according to Rav Yochanan said, we make this whole shua as a takana d'Rabbanan. Now we explain, nevertheless, even if the townspeople said that they're going to pay, they're obligating themselves to pay, nevertheless, you still have the shluchim still have to make the shua, even though they b'nei yair afal pisha kibla b'nei yair l'shalim, because ein ha'hektish yaitze b'lei shua, because so as not to treat the hektish lightly. That is the purpose of the shua according to Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore even in a case where the townspeople agree that they're going to reimburse, nevertheless the shluchim still have to make the shua because of this takona not to be mezalzel and hektish. A person, if he separated the shekel, the matzah the shekel, and it was lost before the Truma Solishka, it was lost. Rav Yochanan Omar Chayev B'Achriyusa Achim Tzur Legizbar. Rav Yochanan says he has to replace it. He's Chayev B'Achriyus until it gets into the hands of the Gizbar. Rav Shimon Lakish Shaimer Hektish B'Shus Agavoya B'Chamakim Shehu. He said, if a mafresh the matzah a shekel, it belongs to hektish. Hektish is everywhere, so it's in hektish's rishus. So therefore, you don't have to replace it because it's as if it's already been given to hektish. Once he's mafresh the shekel, it's as if he already had given it to hektish. So he already fulfilled, therefore, his obligation. So but the Mishnah contradicts that. It's not like that. Because the Mishnah says, it says that the messengers make a shvu l'bnei ir, and the people of the city have to bring a replacement one. So you see that they do have to replace it, that they are responsible. Even though they are set aside the shkolim, they're mafresh shkolim, then if the loss occurred before the Truma Solishka, then they are obligated. We don't say that hektish is a rishus agavoy is b'chol makom shehu. More answers lo yir mishum shuas takana. Maybe this is this not also for the same reason that we made a takana that you may have to make a shua. Make it, then you don't have to make a shua. They made a takana, you have to make a shua, so perhaps this is for the same reasoning, that it's a takana, maker din, that once you set it aside for hektish, it belongs to hektish. It's a takana. Tani will learn Harishainim, Naiflim, Letaklin, Chadatan. The first set of shkolim, so we said the town people have to give replacement shkolim. So the first one goes to the Taklin Chadatan, to the new set of shkolim, which are used to buy animals for the korbanos. Ahashniim, Naiflim, Tikkun, Atikin. The second set goes for Atikin, which are not used for the korbanos. It's used for communal needs. You can't use both of them because Matzah Shekel is a Hosher Lo Yarba, Vadal Lo Yamin. It has to be be machzas a shekel equally from everybody. So therefore, the old ones can't go for the korbanos; they go for the communal needs. What are considered the first and which are considered the second? The Rabbi Pinchas, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Mori, they say Chad Amar Elu Sheshalcha B'nei Tchila. They said the first ones that were sent are considered the tiklin chadatin. These are the new ones, the first ones that were sent. But the other one says Chad Amar Elu Shegil De Gizbat Tchila. The other one says, no, the ones that reach the Gizber's hands first. Zok the Mishnah, Hanoisin Sheklo L'Chavera Lishkal Yadoi. If a person gave the Matzah's shekel to his friend to be a shaliach, to bring it up for him on his behalf, Ushkola Al Yedei Atzmo, but instead the shaliach used it for his own chiyuv, his own obligation of the Matzah's shekel. Im the Truma Mo, if they already retired from the Truma. So after the time that the shaliach, he gave in the matzahs shekel for himself, they already retimed the truma, and as we learned, they timed the truma on the shekel that already arrived, but on alasid love as well. So therefore, this matzahs shekel belongs to hektish. Now, if he's using it for his own obligation, he's getting a benefit from it. So he's over mi'ilah. Somebody who used makdish money for bedek. So money that he was already makdish for bedek, and then he used that money, which was already hukdish bedek, he used it for his chiyuv matzahs shekel. Then v'nitrama truma v'karva behema. And then afterwards, they retire from the truma salishka, and they use the money to buy behema, the market of the behema, then mall. Then he's mall, because even though he took money that was for bedek was hektish, and he used it for matzahs shekel, but that's transferring from one hektish to another hektish. It's not considered to be a me'ilah unless it's taken out of the rishus of hektish. Now, when they use money from matzahs shekel to buy a behema, now that money has been taken out of hektish, and therefore there's a me'ilah. Most Rishonim learn, and therefore in the reish of the Mishnah, the same halach would apply, that it's only when they're makar of the behema. If a person used money that was set aside for a Meiser Sheni, meaning that it was product of Meiser Sheni, and they were redeemed it, they were paid it, and now he has this money, or from produce of Shias, which is sold, and now it has the money which has Kedushas Shias. Now in both these cases, this money has to be used for food. It has to be used for food which has Kedushas Shias, or in the case of Meiser, with Meiser Sheni. And he has to eat the food that has a corresponding value of the money that was taken from Meiser Sheni and Shvius. The Gemara says, so he says he used funds that were makdish for bedek, and he used it for the matzahs shekel. We learned in our Mishnah that there's me'ilah when they're makar the behem. But in the Brisa, Rebbe says that even if they just were nitram the truma, even without being makar the behema, even without being makar, Tana im nitram truma, who's the Tana that says that if they were time the truma, even without being makar of the animal? That's Reb Shimon. That's Reb Shimon. The Amar Reb Shimon miyad hayam mikabel ma'asav akainam's rizim. It says that the people who sold the flour to hektish for the menachas, so they sold the produce for the menachas, for the flour or the wine, they sold it for the menachas. So Reb Shimon says that they would have the money was given to them it's theirs immediately, because Kahanim's rizim, and therefore we assume that they're going to be makar of it right away, so there's no chashash that there's going to be a time lag, and therefore we're concerned they might spoil, the wine might turn sour, the flour might turn moldy or wormy. We're not concerned with that because Kohanim's rizim. So therefore, the people who sold it to Hektish, the vendors, they have the money immediately. It's considered there. But therefore, there's a transfer from Hektish to outside source to Hulin immediately. Here also, when Hektish uses the money from the Trumas Halishka to buy a behema, also it will be considered to be the vendors immediately. So therefore, the Me'ilah should take place immediately, even before the purchasing and the being makriv of the animal. So therefore, when they already tayrim the trumas halishka, we can assume, therefore, that immediately the animal is going to be purchased and they're going to be makravit. So immediately, therefore, we can assume, therefore, is yotza lechulin and there's me'ilah. The Mishnah says in the Reisha, if a person gave the Masechet Shekel to his friend, and the friend used that, the shaliach used that for his own chiv Masechet Shekel. If a person steals the oil, the korban oil, someone is makdish in oil, someone steals it, and he shechs it stam without a specific kavanah, stam avoid l'shem bal rishayim mechapiris, isn't it stam for the purpose of the original owner? It's for on his behalf. So here also we should say that it was done on behalf of the Mishaleach. Amar Rabbi Yudon said, Tiftar b'Mesuyam. We can explain it as following, that the shekel is Mesuyam, it's identifiable, meaning that we know that he was using it, he was giving it on behalf of himself, and not for the Baalim. For instance, like the following case, like in the case of the bias of Rabbi Gamliel, that what they would do is they would, when the Gizbar was Tyrim, the shekel, when he came to do the Trumas Halishka, then they would push their shekel in front of him to make sure that he took theirs, that theirs was the one that was taken. So, for instance, if the shaliach did in this manner, that he's ensuring that this is going to be the one that they're going to be Tyrim, we can assume he's doing it for himself. Well, how do we know that this shekel is going to be the one that's going to be used for purchasing the korbanos? Maybe it's going to be with the remainders of the lishka, which will not be used for korbanos, which will be used for other needs, and therefore there should be no milah. You're going to say that the Tana holds that there is mi'ilah even on the shirayim, like Ramer, and therefore you'll have to say it's like a das yochid, like Ramer. Are we forced to say that? Say that the Ramer Ramer moelim b'shirayim, because Ramer is the one that says, but moelim b'shirayim. Where it says no, we already said that it's talking where it's identifiable, that it's mesuyim. Like Beis Rabbi Gamliel, like the case we just mentioned of Beis Rabbi Gamliel. So therefore, if it's pushed into the box at the time that he's Tayrim the Lishka, then if it's pushed into it at that time, then we know that it's going to be used. It's going to be used for this person, and it's going to be used for buying korbanos. Manene, so we say there's mi'ilah. Well, mi'ilah is if the person gets hana. What benefit is he getting from this? That we should say there's milah. So the more answers, Amar Ravam M'Shem Rabbanah Taman and Mekevan Shebeis Din Ruim Lamashkin V'Lei Mashkin. He is getting the benefit that Beis Din has the right to take a mashkin for him until such times that he gives a Masechet Shekel, and therefore, by him doing this, they won't be able to take the mashkin. They won't take the mashkin from him because he was already considered to have given the Masechet Shekel. So Kimoi Shenena, it's like he's getting hana, because by him doing this, Beis Din will not go ahead and take a mashkin from him, and therefore it's considered like he got hana, that he is saving himself from having some of his assets seized. The Ma'aser Sheni, the Mishnah says that if he paid his Masechet Shekel with most of Ma'aser Sheni, with money that was to be purchased, to be used for purchasing food that had the Kedusha Ma'aser Sheni, or for Shvias, then he has to take a corresponding amount and use it for food. But the mois of Ma'aser Sheni cannot be used for the Masechet Shekel. Why is that? Whatever is a bechor, the firstborn, you can't be makdish it. Kol shu kodesh and kedusha chala. Whatever has kedusha, you can't have another kedusha on it. And therefore, since it says that kol ach bechor asher kalasha bivehema, it says behema. So therefore, we extend it not only to bechor, but all behemoths, all kachim. Any korban. So once something has a kedusha on it, you can't switch it to something else. Therefore, something that has Kedushas Meiser Sheni can't be switched and used for the Kedusha of the Mafsas Shekel, which is to buy the behemoths for Korbanos Tzibah. So so what does he do? It says that he eats the corresponding amount of food he's oichel kenegdo. What does he do? Maybe sell a shel chulin. He brings a sell of chulin. V'omer, and he says, Ma'os meiser sheni b'chol makom shein yimchol olam al selazu. He says the Mois and meiser sheni, wherever they are, they should be mechulel on this money. So therefore, he's transferring the kedusha of the Mois Meiser Sheni onto the seller, and therefore the money that was given to the Gizbar for the Machzos Shekel no longer has the kedusha of Meiser Sheni. Now the kedusha of Meiser Sheni is on this seller that he brought. And then this seller has the kedusha Meiser Sheni, and he has to eat it with the kedusha, use it to buy food in Yerushalayim with the kedusha meiser sheni v'asher nasu shkolim, and the rest of the money that he gave becomes shkolim. And similarly, the same procedure with shvias. If he gave it for the money of shvias, it's the same procedure.